In this episode, we're talking about a game that's all about ancient family drama. It's the other most anticipated game of the year, Hades 2. This and more on Indie Game Arcade. Welcome, everyone, back to Indie Game Arcade, a podcast that deep dives into the latest and greatest indie games. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And, Joseph, my friend.
Yep. Yes.
How... Would you consider Hades a gooner game? Because they are some lustful looking folk, you know? Like the way they're drawn.
I think that Hades 2 might surprise you in how it holds back in some ways.
Really?
In comparison?
Are they a little bit more like reserved in this one? A little more conservative?
Well, aside from Dionysus and Aphrodite, yes.
Oh, okay.
Aphrodite is basically completely nude, obviously with her bits covered by hair and whatnot.
Nice.
And
nice.
Dionysus is just like, he's just got a thong on,
nice.
And you can definitely see he's packing.
Is he rocking like the banana hammock, basically? Like
yeah, essentially.
All
I think it's even like got like a leopard print on it or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
But yeah, in comparison, it's not like just everybody's not like way too pretty to be real, I guess. I don't know. It's not like the first one where it's like the whole like
it could have been a dating
plethora
sim
of gods. Yeah, it might as well have been.
They should have done that. They should have made a follow-up dating sim to the first Hades, like they did with Rivals of Aether, where they did a follow-up dating sim.
Yeah, I mean, they easily could, but no, this one is a lot more reserved in that way because I think it, in a way, is taking itself a lot more seriously. I guess stakes are higher.
Okay, well, let's talk about those stakes, because I love stakes.
Game start!
Hades 2 released into early access this year, May 6th, and then the 1.0 just released September 25th of 2025. Developed and published by Supergiant Games, huge pedigree there. Obviously, creators of Hades, the original, Bastion, Transistor, so many great games. Retails for $29.99. And for a quick description, before we get into all the gritties, the nitty gritty is what I want to say. Before we get into the gritties.
Okay.
Let's get into those gritties. This is a direct sequel to Hades, as I said, where you're playing as Melinoë, princess of the underworld and sister of Zagreus. You're not escaping hell, you are hunting down Kronos, the Titan of Time, who's taken over the house of Hades. As somebody that was very interested in Greek mythology, as a little bit younger man, and took a few classes on it in college, which I failed miserably for some reason, I'm very interested to know more about this. So take it away, my friend, because I didn't get to play this, and I'm very sad about it.
Yeah, which is real unfortunate because I thought this would be one that you jumped on.
I know.
For obvious reasons.
I really want to. I really wanted to, and I was planning on doing it today, and every single thing that could go wrong in a day for me went wrong. So it was like I just could not get to it. So that's what I get for procrastinating, I guess.
Yeah, and I do want to say just right off the bat that I did not play the early access at all. I resisted because I knew that I was going to be spending so much time in this game when it actually came out, and I have. I think so far I am 25 hours in to this game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So but I've essentially only been playing this game. With anything else I've played, just kind of been like, okay, let me play this for 30 minutes just to have something else to talk about. But then I'm going to go back to Hades too. That's kind of how it's been since I picked it up. And It is, so with Hades, the original, you are Zagreus, the brother of Melinoë, and the runs are pretty straightforward, pretty basic. It sets a really good standard for what like an action roguelike should be, and and anything I say about this one is not taking away from how great the first one was, especially for the time that it was made. So I just want to say that Hades 2, I think, is an improvement, but only because it's building off of the groundwork that Hades started and expanding in pretty much every possible way.
I think too, just like to piggyback off of that so that I have anything to say during this episode. But like, I feel like Hades 1 set, when you were saying really set the groundwork for this one, but I really feel like it set a new precedent and new standard for action RPGs in general. Because I think about like the landscape of where we are with action RPGs. And so many of them now really invoke the same gameplay stylings and even look of Hades. So I really think that that original game completely changed the landscape of the genre.
I think you're right in that I feel like when I see an isometric action roguelike or just action RPG, my head immediately goes to, oh, this is a Hades-like. Or
yes.
Something to that effect, you know. It's just the style of it, the perspective, and just the really fast and satisfying combat is something that a lot of games have emulated, and not in a way where they've got copied it, but they've taken inspiration from Hades in that way, or it feels like they have.
Oh, 100%.
Where at least that sent such a strong. Like, I guess just set a strong precedent for what that kind of game should be as a baseline. And people have, expanded on it in different ways. In the same way that, Vampire Survivors really set the Horde
absolutely.
Survivor kind of thing. And it's like, while you can look back at it and be like, oh, it's so simple, it's so plain, whatever, it's like, you still have to appreciate that every game that comes out that's also like that is inspired by that. So appreciate the ancestor, appreciate the roots of that. And this is the same thing with Hades to Hades 2, where it's like, would I say that you'd be like, if you've never played a Hades game, like, should you play Hades 1 first? Probably just for the story aspect of it.
Yeah.
And also because it's still a really good game. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I say yes, because it's like, it will help you get into the second one even more so. Not only just with the familiarity with some of the characters, the gods, and the setting, but also just the gameplay style, where it's like, okay, I've got the feeling of this as a starting of just like, okay, he's doing melee attacks, he's dashing around, he's doing all this. Because Melinoë, she has so much more in her arsenal that you have to keep track of. It's not just like dash around and hit stuff. Like, she has her attack, she has her special, which is her Y button.
She's like a witch too, right? Like, so she's got like magic.
That's exactly what she is. Yeah. Then the B button, or at least on the Xbox controller, is your cast, which is, it forms a circle around you. And, well, at least normally it forms a circle around you. Of course, like, once you get all these boons and different kind of power-ups, every sort of ability that you have does something different, or can do something different than it does at the start. And not only that, but you start with a staff, like a witch's staff, and you can use that like all the way through if you want to or whatever. But then you get the rest of the, I don't remember what they're called, but like just all of these other weapons. There's like at least 5 or 6 maybe that I can think of. And within all that, like, at first you're just gonna be using like the base weapons of each of those, but then it has the same sort of thing that Hades had, the original, where once you start taking on like challenges and things to up the difficulty in certain ways of your next run, you will receive these like purple skulls. They will also let you power up or just kind of change the inherent like attack patterns or the way that each weapon works. There's at least 3 different styles, the original style and then 2 other styles that, from my experience, is like way different than the style that it was using. So for example, there's one weapon that's like, you have these skulls, these explosive skulls that you're tossing around. And that's what it does like normally with your attack. But then I upgraded it to this other version of it. And then it was like, okay, now the skulls don't throw. You hold them in your hand and there will be an explosive like aura around you every 3 seconds. Or if you use your special after you charge one of them up, it will automatically explode. So then that changes it entirely, because then instead of throwing skulls at people or whatever, I am charging up my skull and then dashing into them so that I can blow up around them, which makes it a way different gameplay style, even just one weapon.
Yeah.
And that's one of the upgrades to one of the weapons that is just 2 different weapons. So essentially, if you think about it, like, let's say there's 5 weapons and then each of them has like 3 different versions. There's like 15 different weapon styles you can use. And that's not even considering the boons that you're getting that are changing the way that your weapons work altogether or can. And then it's like, there's just so much like variety to this. And that's just like what you're doing with your character. Then there's also, you have your basic run that's kind of like the starting, or just the way Hades worked, where it's like you're going to, as Zagreus, you were just trying to escape and fight Hades, and then like just leave what's it called? Hell, basically.
Yeah.
And that is what you were trying to do, and that's what every run was, really, with some variations here and there, but that was your goal. In this one, you are trying to reach Kronos so you can fight him. And that's kind of your starting like mission, is go do that, and you do that a few times. And then without spoiling anything, like then it turns into something where it's like, oh, now I can go a completely different route to do a completely different thing, fight different enemies in different environments. And it's like kind of like cool. 2 different games in one, or 2 different routes in one game. So even on that level, it's like twice the size of what Hades was. And that's not including all the story, all the voice acting, all the different gods you're encountering. And then there's just like special guests popping up all over the place. You're like, oh man, it's him. Oh, wow, him. And it's like brand new ones and like returned like gods from the last one. And just all together, it takes itself much more seriously. It still has fun, and there's still like kind of jokey sometimes, but the stakes are higher, so it's treated as such. Like they're not just like quipping around all the time. She's not like Zagreus in that way, Melinoë. It's a lot more serious, but not so serious that it's like, I don't know, taking itself way too seriously. It just is, the stakes are high and it treats itself as such, but still has some levity to it, versus it being mostly levity, since Zagreus' only mission was to just escape hell. Because he was bored, essentially.
Yeah, he was very much a character that reminded me of you in that way, like of just like dying just of boredom, and needing to escape from it. But yeah, she seems like a much more serious character. Even like her design and stuff, you can kind of get that feeling. Doesn't mean that I still wouldn't want to date her, because she's gorgeous. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, these are all like Greek gods and or just people inspired by that. And yeah, a lot of beautiful people in this.
I'm looking at like, I know you said like, hey, this one isn't nearly as thirst trappy, but I haven't seen one yet that I'm like, I'm not seeing a pass just yet. So I
mean, just the art style alone is still super appealing.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter like how you draw it or who you draw.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, for people who are interested in things like that, I guess, like yourself, it would be, there's a spa that you can go to, which isn't like, it isn't like super perverted or anything, but you essentially get to see like, I guess like the above the shoulders and up of like most of the people who go there with you, because when they're in this spa, like the idea is that they're nude, so you're just seeing them with like wet hair and like no shirt on, but you're only seeing like shoulders up, so it's like
scandal.
The implication is there that they're all just like doing it in the nude, and sometimes they're commenting on that and whatever, so it's like there's a little bit of that, but again, it's not so in your face that it's like, oh no, like it's not safe for kids kind of deal.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering, like, and I'm glad you mentioned it, so that there is a little bit of a twist in the game that does create, like a much larger version of the game, as you were kind of saying. I was kind of wondering if there would be some sort of twist or something, And my thought was only just from the standpoint of Kronos being, a Titan who weaponizes time, essentially. At least, and I don't know that that is exactly like how he's portrayed in this, but like that's typically like a role that he is given in a lot of other media, is that association with time and that he controls time and stuff. So I was kind of like, okay, how is that going to come into play in this? And is that the reason that things like change up and the game expands? Or is it something totally different?
It's sort of different. Like, I mean, yeah, time plays a huge role in it. The whole reason that like after you slay Kronos, just period, like he's able to come back because he can just essentially reverse time. And
Nice.
and these are all gods, so they can't like die in that way anyway. So it's just like he's regenerating, he's reversing time, he's taking you back to the way it was before, et cetera, or he's like regenerating himself at least with time on his side. And you get to see that there is like an alternate route that is locked off to you when you first start. So you're like, I wonder what that is. And I didn't know it was going to be so vast, like a whole nother game essentially.
Yeah.
And so I was just like beating Kronos over and over again and, unlocking what I could from that. Cause there was still things that I could do if I was doing that. But then I was like, you know what, let me like actually prioritize trying to unlock this thing. I thought it was just gonna be like a side mission. And that's when it was like, oh no, this is like the other half of the game, at least. I'm sure there's even more to it probably, but that's what I'm working on now. I just before like getting on the podcast, actually, I got to the last boss of that for the first time. And I was like, oh man, like this is crazy. And this boss, I won't say like who it is or what it is, but like it didn't have a health bar. And so I didn't know like how much I was damaging it.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing okay, but then it ended up just killing me after a while. So I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Cause I'm sure there's a way to take it down, but like I just wasn't doing it. And plus I just wasn't familiar with his pattern yet since that was my first time fighting him. But yeah, it was crazy. What's exciting about this, as with any like action roguelike or just roguelike in general, is like all the build crafting you can do. RNG is not super on your side most of the time, but there are ways to sort of like lean it more in your favor with the I don't remember what they're called, but the little gifts that the gods give you that you can equip as, or the relics, I think they're called.
Okay.
And like if I have one from Zeus, then if I equip it, it will give me a higher chance of finding like Zeus boons. And so I can kind of customize my build more with that in mind. Every one of like the primary gods will have something like that. But then the secondary ones like Hermes or something, who's just like the speed guy, his doesn't do that. His does something else. So it's really only, but you can still get boons from him if you, find his little thing. There's a lot to it, and there's so much to explain and so much I can't explain because I want people to experience it. But just know that if you liked Hades, you're going to love this one. It is a little bit, I wouldn't say it's harder, but I will say it's more to think about all the time because you're not just thinking about like running into stuff and hitting it or punching it or whatever. You have to think about like, okay, what is the best way I can use my abilities? Do I want to power up my attack? Do I want to power up my special? Or do I want to power up my cast? Or all of the above? And then it's just making a lot of like micro decisions in each of the like encounters that you get into. And sometimes the screen gets so overloaded with the enemies that you just have to like dash around and hope for the best because it gets pretty wild.
So is the amount of like options and customization and stuff part of what you would say makes this game better than the original, or are there other aspects that makes you think that is the reason that it's an improved formula?
I just think like everything that Hades has to offer, this one offers more of. And so if that feels like an improvement to you, then yeah, you're going to like it more. If it seems like too much, which I could see maybe some people bouncing off that because it's like, oh, there's so much to think about. Or it just feels like too expansive. I mean, that feels like a weird complaint, but it really like, even after playing for like the 20 something hours I've been playing, I still don't know really how, like, even after I beat this like second boss, it's like, I don't know what this is going to do, because it's not Kronos, I can say that much. And I know he's still like the big bad. So it's like, how is that going to come back into play? What's going to happen after that? I don't know. And so that's where it's like, there's all these different routes you can take and different ways you can approach the story, all the while you're unlocking various like improvements to your camp, sort of. There's this cauldron in the center of it that you're basically using resources you're picking up along the way. This is your sort of meta progression, but not in a way where it's like, oh, now I'm 5% stronger, I'm this. And it's more like now there are, maybe like healing wells will do 10% more or something when you encounter them, or this will unlock the ability to find these chests that once you open them after you beat a stage or beat an encounter, it will let you do another encounter that's timed, and the faster you beat it, then that's the more money you'll get out of that. Like, there's various different things, a lot of different elements that they don't throw so much at you right at the start, but it's once you've gotten like pretty deep into it that you'll really start to unlock a whole lot of different things. So if you feel like it's kind of like straightforward or kind of this kind of samey at first, like you just need to wait. Like, you just need to like get through some of it, and then you're going to unlock so many different things. And there's really so much to it. Now, like, now have I unlocked this, like, now there's a decoration thing too, so I can like decorate my camp more.
Oh, hell
and that
yeah.
didn't come until like way later.
I love
and so
that.
it's like, okay, so this is like a secondary thing, not something they were focused on, but it's something now I have the option to do if I want. But I don't even know like what to say without saying too much. So just play the game. It's great.
2 final questions. 1, what is your favorite god that you've seen so far in this second game?
I guess my favorite god actually is Athena.
Nice. Okay.
She's not like one of the main ones at first, and she doesn't even come in at first. You just hear them talking about her like, oh, where's Athena? Oh, she's like fighting at the foot of the mountain, blah, blah, blah. She's holding off the forces. So you're hearing about her all this time. So you're like, oh, when's the big reveal going to be? And then when she comes out there, she jumps, like she'll come in. It'll say like you're in a battle, and it feels like it's getting a little overwhelming. And I don't think it's like a specific battle, but maybe just randomly, like you'll start to see a lot of foes coming. You're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And then just something you just come across your screen and just say like divine intervention. And like, what is that? And then she just jumps down from the sky. Everything around you, or just everything in the stage, takes 9,999 damage and just dies.
Wow.
And then it's like, hey, what's up? I'm Athena kind of deal.
Yeah, that's a hell of an
It's like,
introduction.
holy crap. Yeah.
I love that.
And she gives you some boons that it's not like one of the main ones that you'll see her all the time.
Yeah.
She just shows up randomly, but when she does, like, you're thankful for
That
it.
is
She will
cool.
just clear out the level.
I love that. Very cool.
And she looks awesome.
Okay. Well, now I got to look her up. Other thing that I want to ask you before we wrap up this section is, if you were going to give, let's say, newer players that are coming into this game blind, any piece of advice on gameplay, what would that be?
I would say don't try to brute force your way through it with just attacking like you might be used to. Utilize your cast more than you think you'll need to, because that thing can be a lifesaver. Like I said, it makes a circle around you, and you can start to like power. Well, when you use it on basic enemies, they get kind of trapped in it while it's still down. So if there's a lot moving and a lot jumping around, like, don't be afraid to just like block them off by using your cask. Although you don't have to charge it up. You can charge it up and it'll do some more damage. But if you just like press B and just drop it, it will block enemies from coming to you. Or if they're inside of it, they will be stuck inside of it until it wears off. So I would just say, I only say that because that's not something I really started doing until later. I'm like, man, I wish I had really done more of this earlier, because it has saved my life so many times now by just controlling the field more with the cast move. And so yeah, my best advice would just be like, use all the tools at your disposal. Don't just stick with one, even if you think like it's the best one or whatever. Like, everything's useful in some way.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice. Also, I did just look up Athena, and she looks sick. Yeah.
The one with the armor version with that big spear. Yeah, she looks awesome.
I'm telling you, man, there's no pass for me. There's no passes. They're all great. They're all... When are we getting our dating sim, our Hades dating sim? It's going to happen eventually. They've got
I think
to.
she even has like a Medusa shield or something.
It's cool.
Like, she just looks so
love
cool.
That.
Power up!
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do us a favor and throw us a like, a follow, or share the episode or the podcast with folks who love indie games so we can get more of these game recommendations out there and support indie game devs. We also have our YouTube channel at youtube.com/nerdsloth where you can catch us playing more indie games or check out our top 5 and top 10 series for even more indie game recommendations because we believe there's an indie game out there for everyone.
Combo!
Let's talk about some other indie games we've been playing. So I did play some games. I swear it wasn't, I didn't do nothing this week. I promise I'll contribute.
I can't imagine how you didn't prioritize Hades 2 over
I know.
anything
well,
else.
it's because like I knew you were going to do that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to play through these other ones. I know he's got that covered. So that was going to be the last one I played because I trusted you, Joseph. I trusted you to have Hades 2 in the bag. And you bagged it. You bagged it like a dead body. So
I
job well
definitely
done.
played a lot of it.
I played Mind Diver, which released on the 28th of September, developed by Indoor Sunglasses, which is a really interesting name. I don't know why, but I love all the creative weird names for these developers and like the publishers and stuff. So like every time I see one that makes me giggle a little bit, like I have to draw attention to it. So yeah, I like this one, Indoor Sunglasses. So this is a first person mystery puzzle detective game where you as an employee of this organization dive into the subconscious mind oceans. I'm doing this in quotes to help restore memories. So in this game, your latest client is this woman named Lena, whose boyfriend Sebastian has gone missing, and her memories have been like radically altered and damaged. And it's like in a very suspicious way. It's not like, like an Alzheimer's patient or somebody that's like forgotten something very important, like something has been done to this woman. So you are literally using like this technology to dive into her mind. And it's almost like an ocean where you are like physically like swimming through it. And then you plop into different dioramas of scenes with missing or fractured pieces and where there's these like little mini black holes. And you have to use a device to listen to audio around the images of different objects or people to figure out what's happening in these scenes, what objects might be missing and need to be moved back to those little black hole areas to kind of like repair these memories. And those objects are always somewhere else. It might not be somewhere else in that scene. It might be like buried in another memory scene, like in another area. So like you might have to like do as much as you can and then explore somewhere else and see if you can find, that object somewhere else and then come back and fill it in when you have it. When you do fill everything in a scene, then you can unlock new audio or memories to move along the story and dive more into. And it starts to unfold this like really bizarre story that seems like it might involve some sort of like technology kind of cult. It is super interesting. The one caveat I would say that I ran into is that the controls were not always super tight. So it felt a little clunky doing the mind ocean bit where you're swimming. Like I a few times ran into something and I felt like I was stuck on it for a second and had to kind of backpedal and go around. But like other than that, everything else was pretty fine. I was just also slightly confused at first when I started playing, because like you go through a little bit of like a little bit more of like cutscene kind of stuff at first, and they're kind of explaining things to you, and it's a little bit more on rails. And then it kind of expands out, and you have a lot more freedom. And I wasn't ready for that at first. Because I was kind of thinking, this whole thing's going to be on rails. I'm just going to go from thing to thing, piece things together, move on. But like, once I got to that point and realized, I can't get everything I need here. Like, what do I do next? and then realized I had to like really think outside the box and move on and go explore other things and try to like, remember, okay, I need to find a thing like this. Maybe I can look for it over here. And while I'm over here, I'm finding other missing pieces that maybe I'll find something else over here. And so it was like, once I started like realizing the amount of exploration and the amount of freedom I had to do that, then I was totally fine, because I was like, I appreciate that, because it was less handholdy when I expected it to be handholdy. And I appreciate a game that respects my intelligence that way. So this is one that I think I'm kind of fascinated with. I don't know that I'm totally in love with the art style of it. Parts of it I think are absolutely gorgeous, and then other parts of it just didn't click with me. But the story of it, the gameplay aspect, the puzzle solving, and just the progression of it was really, really clicking. So this is definitely one I really want to try and play some more of. Just not on my Steam Deck, because it did make my my deck sound like an airplane that was trying to take off. That thing was going on overhaul trying to play this game. But yeah, it was really interesting, man.
It looks like an interesting game that I just will not experience myself, because not because of the game, just because it's a you say mystery, detective, story rich, things like that. They're just like not appealing to me in a game.
All
and puzzle,
the keywords that completely turn you away.
The only thing that would have made it even worse is like walking sim.
Well,
then I would have been out. I would have just like
let me go check their podcast. Let me check their tags real quick and see if walking sim. No, it's not in there. Oh, we almost had it. We almost had every single tag that you hate. Almost all of them.
Quit the show.
You almost stopped recording right there. Yeah. Yep. And I do want to preface, like, when I said like the visuals didn't really click with me, it's again, the visuals aren't bad. There's just like it's just not the style I'm like super into, but like the way that it's presented though, still within that is beautiful. Like I like the idea of these like sectioned dioramas that you get to like pop in and out of and like find things. And like it works because like everything's like it's memories, it's fractured, it's like there's somewhat of a surrealism to it. And that just kind of makes sense because you're wading through somebody's subconscious. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, I would say like one of the more appealing parts to me is the visual aspect of it. Like that.
We are
only because
split
like
on this.
It seems like it's playing into the dreamlike state of things, and I think it is accomplishing that very well. Like I said, it looks really interesting. It's just not my type of game. Nothing against the game itself, because if I were into this type of game, I'd absolutely jump into it.
I definitely do want to play more of this, and there's like other aspects and stuff that will come into play too, like. There's a lot of stuff like within the UI and the kind of like menu and stuff like that where you can track like the case progression and stuff and like all of the things that you found, because it is a longer story and stuff that you're trying to piece together and find out, well, like what happened to this woman's memories, what happened to this guy that is missing. And like you're also kind of uncovering like some sinister-ish kind of things happening bit by bit. So it's like, there's a lot of things that you're kind of tracking. So like some of those things are getting filled in through like this menu system and stuff. So there's those things too. And there's a lot to kind of unpack within the UI with that. But I think it does a really good job with all of those things. And it definitely makes a very interesting story. Like it feels very Black Mirror to me, which is something I'm really into. Like I love that like really kind of tech gone rogue sci-fi, like almost playing into psychological horror in a way kind of idea of like, what happens when, tech does the things that tech isn't supposed to do, or people abuse it in the way they shouldn't, and like how that affects the human mind. Like it definitely kind of seems like it's doing a little bit of that. And I think that that's absolutely fascinating. So if that sounds fascinating to you, I would definitely check this out.
It seems like something I would watch, but not
Well,
play.
there you go. You can watch me play it.
Yeah. I would need to watch it with no one else talking.
Yeah.
Just so cause I just want to see the story of the story. Sounds interesting. That's it to me.
Hey, I want to bring up one more game that you're not going to like.
Oh my God. Okay. Go on.
This is called Road Trip to the End of the World. This is a visual novel from Shark and Pelican Games. I know I lost you already as soon as I said visual novel. However, try to bear with me for a quick second because I think you might appreciate a little bit about this. So first of all, I learned about this one through TikTok from the developer Alex. And I just happened to see them posting about it and just really excited that their game came out and the art looked really good. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I really want to check this game out now. And I'm super glad I did. So this is a short visual novel about a woman named Andy who is going on a cross-country road trip to her former best friend's wedding that she was uninvited to, along with their mutual childhood imaginary friend named Fishy. So I know that premise sounds very goofy, and there are plenty of goofs and lots of silliness. But what this game really gets at and boils down to is a deep story about this young woman who is mourning her past and this friendship that is completely fallen apart. And it really is kind of like getting to that core of the lies that we as people tell ourselves about who we are as people. Like the person that we want to believe we are, that we're always in the right. We know what's best. Our version of events is the truth, is the right one. But this road trip is really about unwinding a lot of that and Andy accepting herself for the flaws that she has and kind of understanding that the world doesn't revolve around her. And it's just kind of presented through this lens of being stuck on this road trip with an imaginary fish. But one that knew Andy and her friend as children and remembers the real details, not the version that Andy tells herself. And it's a fantastic story. It only took me like a little over an hour to get through and provided a ton of great introspection. Plus the artwork and the animation are absolutely gorgeous. But just be warned, it will have you craving a cheeseburger. And I'm not going to expand on that. You just have to go play the game to understand why. And you should, because it's free. So why wouldn't you? You have no excuse not to. I'm looking at you, Joseph. I mean, I'm not physically looking at you because we're audio only on this guy right now.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about what you look like right now.
This is something that I would love to read as a webcomic. Okay. Can you tell me like what you're doing like game wise? Like what are the mechanics to it?
Really it's only about making choices. So when I say like this is a visual novel, I mean that in the strictest sense.
I do appreciate their humor though. Just in one of the screenshots, they're holding up a bag of dill pickle chips.
Oh, dude, those dill pickle chips were like a cornerstone.
Like a saucy like lady pickle mascot.
Yes,
Miss Pickle.
Miss Pickle.
The text box is like, "Hello, Miss Pickles. You're looking as tangy as always."
Yeah,
and on the bag, it catchphrases "Dill with it, baby." I love that. I would eat those chips.
Oh,
for sure,
dude,
100%.
There was so much food in this game that had me craving. Like I was craving burgers. I was craving those pickle chips. Oh my god, I wanted to go to diners and just eat at a diner so bad. There's a hilarious parody celebrity guest appearance that I did not expect, and it was very welcome because it cracked me up so hard. Let me just say, like, he will take you on a journey to Flavor Town, if you know what I'm saying. It's fun, but it is extremely heartfelt. Like you absolutely relate to this character, especially like if you have been through that idea of having to lose a friendship, especially like someone that was extremely close to you, like either a best friend or an extremely close friend or very close relative that you fell out with. And like having those thoughts of, well, I was right in this, right? And those like second guesses and all of those things, like she goes through all of it. And it really challenges those ideas and everything in the best ways. And like, I really, really felt just kind of enamored to this because of the way that they present it. And especially in such a short time, like like I said, it was like an hour and some change that I finished this thing. And it made me feel like very introspective about like relationships that I have had to cut off for various reasons. And then also relationships where people have, kind of dropped me as a friend. And then me thinking like, was it me? Like, what did I do? That idea of like, we want to believe that we're always right, that we're the good guy, but we're not always. We can't always be. So yeah, it's a game that provokes a lot of those thoughts and feelings. So I definitely would recommend this to the people that are interested in that kind of introspection.
Seems like an interesting experience for sure. And I love the art and I love the humor to it.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I can appreciate it from that aspect for sure.
What about you? Did you play anything other than Hades?
I did. I actually played it. I finally jumped into, I don't know how it's pronounced, but that Granvir one, mech game that I was talking about last time. So I ended up buying it because I was like, I got to try this.
I saw that.
And I completed the first mission. The way it works is like you start with some like real basic like mech parts, like just a super basic mech, and you choose a class, and then the classes being things like, are you a pro pilot? Are you an engineer? Are you a scavenger? Are you a mercenary? Things like that. And those will just give you sort of different abilities or things that you can do along the way. Like I chose mercenary because it was like giving me a higher chance to like, or it gave me like a different kind of setup I could start with as far as mech parts go, and just various, I think I get more money from certain things. But the gameplay is, sort of like it's a 3D perspective, and it's not turn-based, it's live action, but it is slower paced, where you're kind of like, especially like with your first mech, because like the legs are pretty slow if you choose like the normal ones, and so you're just kind of walking around like trying to free these villages from, or these like outposts or whatever, from these enemy mechs that you're running across. And the first few levels of it were pretty like straightforward, pretty easy. And just to give you an idea of like how it works. And it's like, okay, I'm comfortable with it now. I understand what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And you're running across these different like sort of like not treasure chests per se, but the equivalent of that have different either parts or repair things in them, or just various other things. You can only hold so much on yourself at once. You have to decide like what you want to hold on to. And then after you defeat other mechs, like sometimes you will scavenge either different parts from them or various other things and get experience with that and some money. And the way that the actual like campaign side of it works is kind of like what was the game that we like really enjoyed playing that was like the sort of D&D like, remember, but it had like the really stylized characters. Wildermyth, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Wildermyth, it's like that in the sense that like you can choose how long of a campaign you want to do. So it's like, okay, I want to do like a short one. It
that's
tells
nice.
you like in like how many stars or something, like how long it would take. So it's like, okay, let me just do like a short campaign. And I think I was sort of reaching the end of it, and I was pretty confident because I was like destroying everything with this like big Gatling gun thing I had come across, this kind of Gatling arm. So I was like, all right, I'm good. Like I'm solid. I'm not worried about anything. And I went to this one section that was like a lot higher in difficulty than the last one I had gone through was. So I was like, I'll be fine. And I was up until I just sort of got overwhelmed by all the enemy mechs that were coming at me. But I'm all right, it's fine. I've got like, I just need to shoot them all down. I know what I'm doing. And then I ran out of ammo. And that's not something that just like automatically replenishes. If you don't have like a stock of it on you, you're just out. And you just have like, if you have a melee weapon, you're good. I didn't have a melee weapon on me, so I was just trying to like hit them with like the butt of my gun arm or something, and that wasn't doing anything.
That's
so it's like
amazing.
I eventually got torn to pieces. And when your mech, if you lose your legs, your torso, or your mech head, then you're just dead. Like basically the mission's over.
Yeah.
And like the campaign's over. So that's what happened. So I tried to do my first run of that. And I enjoyed what I had gone through. And by the end of that part, I had gotten these like sort of swivel around kind of legs that were like, they were pretty fast, and I could turn like very quickly on a dime because it was almost like I had like a 360 sort of circle legs at that point. So I was liking all the customization options I was seeing, even in the short time that I played, and what I had actually gotten. So yeah, if you like mechs or just like mech games, I think this is a cool one to try. It is like pretty low poly graphics, but it's not about that. The gameplay itself is satisfying. And I think it's one, once you get past like the really sort of basic UI and everything, it's one that you can find some enjoyment in. And I'm going to jump back into it for sure. I have to beat that like campaign, that little campaign, just to see like how that actually goes through now that I understand how to play it, and that I need to really make sure I stocked up on ammo or at least have a backup melee weapon on me. I'll be a lot better prepared next time.
It kind of reminds me of, and this is going to be like a really, really deep cut, so I don't know how many people are going to know this one, but Mech Assault, which was a game for like the original Xbox way back in the day. Yeah, that came out in like 2002.
Yeah,
but,
I remember the name.
Yeah, it's just because the reason is because of the mechs and like, you know, the gameplay not necessarily being like super fast or anything. I had a lot of fun with that game back in the day, and some of the mechs in there, like it does kind of remind me of that like a little bit. But even with like the low poly on this, like this game looks smoother for sure. And obviously it's gonna have better sensibilities than a game that came out, you know, 23 years ago. So, oh my God, yeah. 23 years ago? Jesus, I am dead. I am a dead, old, decrepit corpse.
Yeah, it looks like Mech Assault actually moves a lot quicker. So this one's a little more methodical, at least with the parts that I had. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would be appealing to a certain audience. I am that audience, and I guess any fans of like mech games should probably try this one out.
Yeah, I definitely want to try this one out. It looks fantastic, and I love the idea of being able to customize a mech and live out my Gundam dreams. Hell yeah.
Exactly. And it looks like there's a whole lot of really cool parts I never even encountered, obviously. So whatever your like favorite type of mech is, I bet like you can make that here.
I need a Wing Zero somehow. I got to figure one out. I'm going to make one. I'll make a Wing Zero.
Final round!
Let's talk about some upcoming indie games we're excited about. So I have made a decision of, since we're in October, the greatest month of the year, I am going to only talk about horror games that I learn about. I'm going to assume the majority of the games that I'm going to be talking about are games that are probably don't have a release date as of yet, because a lot of these are ones that have just been announced recently, or I'm just finding them, and they're going to be pushed out to like 2026 or something. So no date attached to them, but I'm going to bring you two this episode. The first one is Forbidden Solitaire. I'm not totally sure what to expect with this one, but I'm assuming some pretty hefty horror shenanigans. So the idea with Forbidden Solitaire is that you found this cryptic CD-ROM card game from 1995 at a thrift store. And all you know was that this was a banned game and you're not sure why. So I know that there's like the card game aspect, but there's also plenty of spooky stuff. There's some FMV stuff. There's some puzzle solving, all in that sort of like inscription-y kind of way, I think. But my guess is this is going to be much more violent and bloody. This was made by the same team that, actually it's by a group of different developers. I know one of the developers made a game that went somewhat viral in the last several months, Home Safety Hotline, which was like a horror game that really blew up. Yeah, I'm expecting it's going to be kind of nuts, and I love the visuals of it. It definitely looks like something that you would have found on a CD-ROM in 90s. So, it looks fantastic. I'm very excited. The other one I want to bring up is Silly Poly Beast. This is it sounds weird, but like, trust me, it looks cool. I promise. This is a survival horror game with a little bit of an anime influence to it as well. You're playing as this girl, Holly, who escapes a nightmarish orphanage, but then gets trapped in the underworld and needs to escape. And she will fight against all manners of demons to do so using weapons, magic, or her skateboard, which, yes, she can also ride, and it looks sick. Also, there's a lot of shifting perspectives from like top down to side scrolling to these very cinematic long shots. So I am very interested to see what this one is going to be like. And it looks like they have a demo available right now. Forbidden Solitaire does not. So I might just have to play this game and report back soon. But it looks so cool.
Yeah, it looks like a Resident Evil anime style.
Yeah.
Which,
where you can ride a skateboard.
This was one I would play, actually. Like, normally with horror games, it's hit or miss, but this is one I would play purely because it's like, it looks very actiony.
You heard it here.
Which I'm definitely
We
into.
found a horror game that he might actually play. Finally.
It's not just like atmospheric and walking sim and slow paced and psychological.
Visual novel.
And all the above. Yeah, visual novel. Yeah, none of those are selling points.
Hey, try World of Horror. I think
that
maybe you could get into that one.
Yeah. Is that? Oh, it's a point and click.
It's like a point and click roguelike.
Okay. Well, this one was actually on my wish list, so that one was one I've been considering.
Well, it's in our library. I own
okay.
it, so you can just play it whenever.
And I might,
do it.
Maybe. A game that I wanted to bring up was Lords of Ravage, which is coming out on October 15th. This is one that I just learned about today, and it is I guess you are the villains in this, and I know many games have done that before, but I like the way this one looks because it's a tactical RPG, and two, the graphics just look really cool to me. So it's turn-based tactics. You are trying to become the final boss. So apparently you are able to play in multiple ways, and you're gathering like your minions or followers from different factions, different like enemy or villainous factions, which look to be mostly like monstrous or demonic and things like that. And it just looks really interesting where you're trying to expand your like Empire of Darkness, I think it says. And it, as a tactical RPG, it looks pretty like simplistic as far as like, not simplistic, but the graphics are like kind of 2D with like it's almost like that.
It's
what is
2.5D.
Yeah, 2.5D because it's like 3D backgrounds and then sort of like 2D models on it, but they look really good.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes out October 15th, if I didn't say that already, but it's one that also says card game in there, which I think is mostly because like it's maybe has roguelike elements to it. Just
Seems
this one looks cool. It's tactical RPG, roguelike, and it just sounds fun. It's always fun to just be the bad guys once in a while, or just play as like these monstrous beings. So I don't know. One I definitely want to give a shot to when it comes out. I wish I had a demo. I would try it right now. If
you do like that 2.5D style, I do know of a Resident Evil-like that is a 2.5D, which is Enigma of Fear, where it very much feels like a spiritual successor to something like Silent Hill or Resident Evil.
Oh, yeah. That one's on my wish list. That one looks cool.
Yeah, I honestly would say that might be one that you might enjoy. You should.
Game over.
Hey, if you had a good time listening to this episode, stick around for the bumper to learn how you can help support the show and all the things we do here at Nerd Sloth Creative. You can also check the show notes for our link tree, which will take you to our social media, Discord, merch store, and all the other things. But get in touch with us and let us know what indie games you're playing so you can help us elevate these games so we can help support indie devs. That's game over for us. My name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode.
Continue.
Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Nerd Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth for indie game let's plays and recommendations. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/nerdsloth, where you can select a pledge and receive access to hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything at Nerd Sloth Creative. If you're an indie game developer and would like us to review your game or explore other opportunities, send an email to nerdslothcreative@gmail.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade. Thanks for listening, and keep supporting indie game devs.